This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
L'shus Mardastra, the Boston Rebbe, with Hakar Satayv to Irgun Shiurei Torah, Rabbi Bald, Rabbi Deutsch. Special thanks to Rabbi Deutsch this evening for standing during the shir and asking the questions. So he's going to be doing more work tonight than usual. So thank you on behalf of the Olam. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of my Rebbitzin, who's here downstairs, and my mother and Saba Zolzain Gezang that are with us, and Kala Kaddish Hazeh, men, ladies, upstairs and downstairs, our audiences that are joining us in Baltimore and Lawrence and Albany, in Muncie, in 2 locations in Chicago, Los Angeles, and Florida. And welcome to all those that I am not aware of and listening through the other mediums that are available today. Thank you very much for coming and joining us.
Question. What is the main purpose of our lives?
Well, that's a question that's been asked by philosophers throughout the ages. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous to go on a boat and set out on a journey and not know where you're going. And it's always important to have a plan, to have a focus. So what is a person's purpose in life seems to be the number one question. And unlike the philosophers that theorized, we have the information straight from the Torah. Ma Hashem alikecha shoyel me'imach. What does Hashem ask from you? Ki'im liyira. But that you should fear Him, that you should see Him, that you should be aware of Him, as Rav Miller translated. And that is the purpose of life. As it says, Ein la'kadosh baruch hu ba'ilamai. Hashem only has in this world Yiras Shamayim bilvad. And Shlomo HaMelech wraps it up when he says, Soif davar hakol nishma, es elikim yira v'es mitzvahs of shemar, ki zeh kol ha'odam. Now, what this means is, in a nutshell, is that we try that our decisions in life should be based on what does Hashem want from me at any given time. And that's the meaning of Tomim Tiyeh im Hashem Alekecha, and that's the meaning of B'chol Drachecha Da'ehu. In all your ways you should acknowledge Him, V'hu Yeyasher Orchaisecha, and then He will make upright all of our paths.
Okay, that's, as they say, la halacha. Now, the Ma'isa, how do we implement this purpose in our daily lives?
Well, there are several areas which are elementary. One is davening. Many people, they go to shul and they do what they have to, and they miss the boat. The purpose of davening is to connect with Hashem, and we can put to fulfillment our purpose in life when we stand with the siddur or sit with the siddur and actually feel that Hashem is in front of us. That's Yiras Hashem. It's why so many shuls have in the front of the shul, Shivisi Hashem lenegdi summit. Or Da lifnei mi ata omed. Know before whom you stand. Because that is if we want the time where we really are doing our purpose in life, it's when we're davening. Right? And when we come close to the Eibishter. Like a certain woman I once heard said that she spends time on Hadlakas Neiros because that's her time with God. That's our time with the Eibishter. We implement this when we pass the mezuzah and we stop and we think that Hashem is watching us. When we put on our yarmulke, when we put on our sheitel, when we put on our tzitzis, when we put on our tefillin. This is all Yiras Shamayim. When we practice a Shabbos and we think that Hashem is the boss, that's when we're implementing the purpose of our existence. Right? And of course, the fundamental place is when we make brachas. As the Gemara Menachos tells us, Ma Hashem alikecha shoyo meyimach al tikrei ma elameya. Don't say ma, but meya. That's 100 brachas. So if we train ourselves, that every time we go to the bathroom, we think about the Rebbeinu Shalom, who's allowing our kidneys to work. Baruch atah Hashem, roifei kol basar mafli la'asros. And whenever we take a cold drink in the summer, or a hot drink in the winter, we say Sha'akol niyeh bidvaro, and we think about the Asara Mamoros, the 10 utterances that the world were created, and we think that everything is from Hashem, and then in the morning when we make that amazing bracha, Yotzeror v'arichaysech oiseshalom u'variyas hakol. He created everything. That, by the way, that's an all-inclusive bracha. You could have in mind a hot bath. You say you don't make a bracha on a hot bath. When you say variyas hakol, when you say sha'asali kol tzarki. But each time we say it with Hashem's name, and we connect Hashem to the hot bath, and we connect Hashem to the pleasures of a sunny day, and we connect Hashem to an ice-cold drink or a nice plate of cholent. So then we're bringing Hashem closer, and we're fulfilling that which it says, Ma Hashem alikecha shoyo me'imach kiyim liyira, and we should have a special kavanah when we say at the end of Kriya Shema that statement, Hashem Elokeichem emes. Hashem is your God, it's true. So we're reaffirming that which we were created for.
Question. We are taught that Chil Hashem is one of the greatest Averas. What areas do we need to particularly watch out for this Avera?
We've all heard that Chilul Hashem, desecrating Hashem's name, even tshuva, Yom Kippur, and suffering, does not atone. It needs death. That's how terrible the sin of Chilul Hashem is. And therefore, it behooves us to be very careful to avoid this sin at all costs. Sadly, while it's such a heinous sin, it is very popular in today's day and age. It's a very sad thing. When somebody is driving a car and people see that you're not even looking because you're texting while you're driving, and people see that, it's a Chilul Hashem. When somebody is driving in the night and they're honking after 10:30 already, and they're honking because they just don't have a second, and people say, what, in the middle of the night, elderly people, children are sleeping. Well, what does he think he's doing? What does she think she's doing? That's a Chilul Hashem. And unfortunately, it filters down to the younger generation. You see, it's amazing. Somebody is turning his car, and there's children on skateboards, and they don't wait. They just walk right in front of the car. And, driving here to the Shiur, it happened to me twice. I couldn't believe it. Such a brazenness, just walking right, and they looked at me. Such a brazenness, walking right in front of the car. Wait for me. That's a Chilul Hashem. There's a misconception that Chilul Hashem is only with Goyim. It's not true. And that leads me to another very important point. The Chilul Hashem that's being done in yeshivas every day to the English teachers. When the yeshiva boys are not nice to an English teacher. The English teacher comes, he's hired to teach a Regents course, and the boys don't behave in the class. He's not a Rebbe, we're told this is not important, English studies. And then it's a huge Chilul Hashem. Here's an English teacher, he comes from public school, from teaching Goyim, and the Goyim many times are more well-behaved than the Yidden in the afternoon. That's a Chilul Hashem. And we need to talk to our children about this. There's another terrible Chilul Hashem. It's amazing. People in business, if they don't tell the truth, that's a Chilul Hashem. If they misrepresent, either something that they're selling, a product that they're marketing, or they misrepresent an insurance that they're giving, that's a Chilul Hashem. It's a huge Chilul Hashem. I'll tell you another Chilul Hashem. Today, people borrow money. They take loans. And they don't know how they're going to pay. And then, when the time is up to pay, they don't even bother making a call. Oh, they're embarrassed. Versteht sich, they're embarrassed. But, Menschlichkeit. Somebody was kind enough to give you a loan, you can't pay it, at least pick up the phone and say, look, I need a little bit more time. I can't pay it all in one shot. Is it all right if I pay it piecemeal? But you got to talk about it. If not, first of all, it does what the Gemara says, a terrible thing. It's tinel delis bifnei lavin. This person won't give loans again. And second of all, it's a huge Chilul Hashem. Huge Chilul Hashem. Somebody goes into a store and starts asking, how much is this? How much is that? How much is this? And the clerk, who is so tired already and wanted to rest, and now thinking they're going to make a sale, after 45 minutes, I was just checking. Just checking. It's a huge Chilul Hashem. To say, but that's part of business. What do you mean it's part of business? If you want, you could say, I'm not really seriously planning on buying. I'm checking out price. I'm looking around. Is that okay? You let the person know ahead of time. The person will say, something, I had a hard day. I really need to rest a little bit. I can't now. Somebody will say, well, that's not good business. There's a way to do it. You drink a cup somebody for 45 minutes and then walk out. You don't even say, well, I wasn't planning on buying. Just walk out of the store. It's Menschlichkeit. Menschlichkeit. You don't park in somebody's driveway even for 5 minutes. You don't double park and run into the store even for 5 minutes. What about if a person comes out and they're late for an appointment? This is all Menschlichkeit. And if we're not careful, it's Chilul Hashem.
Question. Unfortunately, divorce is becoming more and more common. What can we do to maintain and safeguard our marriages?
Well, I think the questions are getting harder and harder. The first thing I think, and I would say it's what I would call a game changer, is the tone of voice you use in your marriage. It sounds like a small thing, but most of the time, the pleasure of spending time with your spouse or the discomfort is due to the tone of voice being used. Not even what's said, but how it's said. Now, there's a giveaway to this when we say in Sheva Brachas, Kol Sasain v'Kol Simcha, Kol Chasan v'Kol Kala. There is a Kol Chasan and a Kol Kala. The Chasanim and the Kalas, they know how to talk to each other. There's an excitement. There's, I missed you. There's, I'm happy to be with you. There's a Kol. And a lot of times, we don't even realize that we're messing up in this area. Because we allow our tension from our hectic lives to slip in to the way we talk to those that we're cavalier with, that we're casual with, that we're not on guard with. And that's a very big problem. You will find that it's not for naught that the Ramban in his Igeris to his son spoke first about how to talk. Kol dvarecha, benachas, the kol adam, the kol eis. It's because the Ramban was teaching his son that this defines the aura of the relationship. How you talk. So we have to be very cognizant of how we talk to our spouse. There should be tenderness. There should be kindness. There should be softness. There should be understanding. There should be tolerance. That's number one. Number two, and this is also huge, one of the reasons that marriages are suffering today is because of lack of time. We need to give time to our spouse. We just need to make time. There's a paucity, a poverty of time. Everything is pulling at us, from ruchnias to gashmias. Everything is pulling at us. But we have to realize that the existence of Shekhinah in our home is dependent upon us giving our spouse enough time. We have to prioritize and carve it into our schedule. Number three is to remember this rule, which is an ironclad rule. In marriage, the best way to get something is to give it. That's the ironclad rule in marriage. If you want something, give it to your spouse. If you want warmth, be warm. If you want smiles, smile. If you want giggles, giggle. If you want sympathy, be sympathetic. There are spouses that say to their spouse, yeah, well, listen, that's the way it is, Baruch Hashem. That's not what a spouse is for. A husband, a wife, they know the Muslim. They want to hear a kind word. They want to hear something supportive. Not, well, what do you think, life is a bowl of cherries? That's not what a spouse is for. You want to hear that, open up a Musa Sefer. If a spouse is just mouthing Musar ideals, so that's not the job of a spouse. A spouse is there to give chizuk, to give support, to give sympathy, to give encouragement. We have to go right.
Okay, now, regarding those who weren't zeichet to hear the Rav's advice when they got married or weren't zeichet to attend previous Shiurim or symposia from Irgun Shiurei and Shalom Beis, and the opposite situation has been transpiring for the course of many years or even decades. Is there any hope to revive such a marriage?
Can a marriage be revived after many years of failure? The answer is 100%. And it's a better chance than anything else out there. The Torah says, try it again. Start over. Get a new model. You must know that, especially if you have children, you are 99.9% married to your bashet. And if you're married to your bashet, you have the best chance to make a wonderful union even late in life with your bashet. Because you were made for each other. Hashem made you for each other. As to starting late, we have a lot of people that started late. Rabbi Akiva started learning only at 40. Yocheved only started having children at 120. Boaz built Malchus Beis David in the last night of his life. We have a lot of late bloomers. We have to know, B'derech she'adam roitza laleches meilichen oisai. In the way a person wants to go, that's the way they're led. You have to make up your mind, I'm going to change this for the better. And Abol L'Tayr Misayin Oisei. Hashem wants that. Hashem wants that. And just remember, the reciprocal relationship of marriage. That's why the Hebrew word for marital joy is sus. It's a palindrome. Because if you'll start giving without expectations, it'll come back. It'll take a while. Old habits take a while. But if you continue giving without expecting, it'll come back. It's the reciprocity of marriage.
Question. Why is it that it seems that I have time for everyone and everything except for my children?
I'll tell you a story. I remember I was eating in a coffee shop in Staten Island. It was, at that time there was a Yid by the name of Mickey Simintov that had a little coffee shop. And if I had to escape somewhere where phone calls were not bothering me, and to prepare a shiur, sometimes I would go there, I would have a coffee, and I would prepare a shiur. And I mind my own business. I was learning. I was preparing a daf, preparing a chumash shiur. And one day, two young ladies walk into the coffee shop, and they came back from Eretz Yisrael, and he made still food that they were used to in the coffee shops in Eretz Yisrael. And I'm minding of my own business. I'm certainly not eavesdropping. All of a sudden, I hear one of the young ladies say, "You know the scud attacks? I really miss those days." All of a sudden, whoa! What is she talking about? She misses those days? And that's exactly what her friend asked her. What do you mean you miss those days? That was so frightening. She said, "I'll tell you the truth. The siren went off, we grabbed our gas mask, we grabbed the injections, we ran down to the sealed room, and we spent with father and mother hours." I never did that. Maybe I hopped 5 minutes with one of my parents, but to sit with my mother and father for hours and talk to them? Never happened before. It never happened again. I miss those days. Isn't that frightening? That it takes a scud attack to get parents to spend time with children? The best presents you could give to your children is more of your presence. And I tell over a story about a father sitting with his child and writing out the chasana invitations. And later he goes and reflects to his Rav, it was a bittersweet experience. He says, "What do you mean? You're walking your child down the chuppah? You know how many people would be mekana such an accomplishment? What do you mean? Bittersweet." So Rav, as I'm writing the invitations, I realized that this is it. He's moving out. And I haven't had really any shaykhs with him. I was always too busy. I hardly spent time with him. And that's it, it's over. He's never coming back, only as a guest. Wow. What a wake-up call! And if we can't do it with our children, we have to teach this to our children, that they should spend time with their children. But Reb Deutsch asked, so what do we do? Yeah, I told you the problem. But what do we do about it? The answer is that we have to realize that it's a ma'aseh mitzvah like putting on tefillin. We have to make time for sitting and learning with a child and talking with a child like we make time. That's why V'shinantam levanecha is in the same parsha as putting on tefillin. So much so that Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld says that just like if you say Kriya Shema without wearing tefillin, it's me'irei d'sheka b'atzmai. So also, if you say Kriya Shema and you don't spend time with your children, that's also me'irei d'sheka b'atzmai. So we have to know that it's a mitzvah, just like putting on tefillin, it's a mitzvah to sit down and spend time with a child. It's a selfish generation. That's why we're always thinking about ourselves. We have to realize we have to make time for our children.
Question. In what areas of life should I put special emphasis upon when educating my children?
The Kitzur Shulchan Aruch says emes. You need to teach your children to tell the truth. That reflects on so many areas of Yiddishkeit. It will reflect on the success of their marriage. It will reflect on the success in business. It will affect on their ehrlichkeit with the Eibishter. And we must know that when a person is trained to tell the truth, they're in sync with Hashem. Because Kitzur Shulchan Aruch has a very small siman about chinuch, but he makes a big statement. The Gemara in Sukkah says that you shouldn't make promises to your child. If you do this, I'll buy you that. If you do this, I'll do that. You're frustrated. The child doesn't want to eat his spinach, his broccoli, go to sleep. So you make a promise. Don't promise. The Gemara in Sukkah says, don't make a promise if you're not going to keep it. Because then you're teaching your children to lie. So truth is number one. Number two, teach them to respect authority. That's a great gift you could give them. Because if you teach them to respect authority, first of all, eventually, when it counts, they'll learn to listen to you. That's a very big investment. If when a child is very young, you teach a child to listen to authority, then when the child gets older, that authority is you. And when you tell them, please don't go out with this boy again or this girl again, he or she is no good, you have a chance that they might listen. It also means that when you teach them to respect authority, it's likely that when they get married, they'll have a rav, which will make a huge difference in the success of their marriage, their business dealings, and their overall ehrlichkeit. So if you want to know something to put special emphasis on, it's to teach them to respect authority. Teach them to be gentle, to be edel. That's a huge investment. The gentle, edel person is usually ma'urav abriyas. A girl should be taught by her mother, by example, to be modest. And a boy should be taught the supremacy of Torah. You work on these things, and you make sure that they have wholesome friends, you're on the way to developing great kids.
Question. Our shul is the place where we go on our special days, and is what creates and constitutes our social circle. What pitfalls should we be on guard for during the shul experience?
Yeah, it's important to realize how important shul is in our life. It's easy to take for granted in a place like Flatbush. Some of the other places that we're listening to as well, big cities like San Francisco, today even in Florida, there are many choices. First of all, it's important to have a shul that you call your own, not shtibel hopping. Because if you shtibel hop, then you'll find yourself without a solid nucleus of friends. Because I'm all over the place. You should have a place where you call your spiritual home. Also, because then it's in inhibition not to miss a tefillah. If you shtibel up, so then one morning you say, you know what, I'm going to stay home this morning. It's Shabbos morning. I'm tired. I had a hard week. I'm staying home. What do you mean you're staying home? What are people going to say? What do you mean? They'll say I daven somewhere else. Why daven somewhere else? If you always daven the same place, so that's it's chayvus that you should come to shul. That's very important. It's very important for you. It's very important for the children. When you go to shul, make sure you make the wise choice of sitting in the right place. Generally, that means to sit in the front. Make believe it's a baseball game, and you would like to have box seats. Sit right behind home plate. Who wants to sit in the bleachers? People go to shul, they want to sit in the bleachers. Why? It's too early for me in the front. In the front, they're actually davening. In the front, there are people that are serious about the business of spirituality. Yeah, it's too much for me. Let's stay in the back. It's a looser atmosphere. It's like the locker room. So make sure when you come to shul, and not just for your benefit, for your children's benefit, shul is a good place to sit. That's number one. Number two, don't talk in shul. That's a disaster. It's probably better to stay home. Talking in shul, it's a disaster. It also disturbs other people. Coming to shul and talking in shul is like. It's like going to a glad kosher restaurant and ordering bacon and eggs. It doesn't make sense. You go to a glad kosher restaurant, you order bacon and eggs. You go to shul and you talk. So that's don't walk out on the Rav's drasha. That's a terrible thing. First of all, it's not kovedik. Second of all, other people will learn from you. Third of all, you're sending your children a terrible message. For the same reason, don't open up a sefer when the Rav is talking. All of a sudden, the Yetzer Hara is looking forward. He doesn't have very many times to be mekayim his mission with opening a sefer. On Tisha B'Av, in the bathroom. But he doesn't get many people to open up a sefer in the bathroom. Even Tisha B'Av, the Yetzer Hara is not so successful. So what does he do? He says, you should be seized by a incurable desire for hasmada while the Rav is talking. That's what the Yetzer Hara does. So avoid opening up a sefer. You have to learn Mishnayos Bal Peh. The Rav is so bad, so boring. So learn Mishnayos Bal Peh. Get along with everybody in shul. Think about it. Who do we choose as our representative to represent us on Yom Narayim, when we beg for our life? Somebody that's Me'ur v'Mabris. Think about what the first request we ask Hashem, Ayatachan Antana. Even before Chasuchim Mikol Chet, U'Menununkim Mikol Oven, U'Medbokim Yirasecha. Shalom.
Question: what can we do to benefit our shul?
All right. The first thing is, if you can, support it financially. Shuls today are at the bottom of the totem pole because they don't have anything to hold over you. The yeshiva, they have your children. They could tell you, I don't think it's a good idea. I'm very against it. They could tell you they're not taking a child. You rent, you have to pay. Haknesses, you have to pay. Sure, what are they going to do? Listen, I'm doing you a favor. I'm davening there. But a shul has to pay for air conditioning. They have to pay lights. They have to pay something to their Rav. They have to fight termites. They have to pay insurance. Shul is expensive. So the first thing is support your shul and teach your children the importance of supporting your shul. That's number one. And by the way, that means teach your children the importance of supporting a Rav. Because you want a Rav. The Rav has so many benefits. Somebody has a problem getting their child into yeshiva. They call the Rav, and the Rav represents them. There's a problem in business. You go to your Rav, could you talk to the other person's Rav? You need somebody to talk to the child. He doesn't hear me. I'm telling you, that I found out the boy that she's going with is no good. He's hanging around with bad people. Could you talk to my daughter? You need somebody to talk to the Shadchanim. There's a lot of benefits for a Rav. Besides Shiurim and Torah. People say you could get that anywhere, on Kavaloshin and Torah, anytime.com. There's a lot of purposes for a Rav. So number one, support your shul. Number two, be a franchise player in your shul. Scotch tape the svarim. Collect the svarim. Maybe buy some svarim. You know, people say, why don't they do anything about this around here? Guess what? You're the they in your shul. You're the they. What do you think they is? We want to know, why aren't they doing anything? You're the they. You're davening there. You're the they. The only thing is we say, Kol Misha Miyachtim Bate Haknesses L'Sfila, or Misha Ba'im B'Seicham L'Spal. There's two types of people. There's those that are Miyachid Bate Haknesses L'Sfila, and then there are those that come in and daven. There's two types of people. Be the Miyachadim. Support your Rav Shiurim. People are very fickle. Well, there's a share 10 minutes earlier. I'll go to that one. Support your shul's tfilos, minyanim. Yeah, but they daven 5 minutes too long, too short, too loud, too soft. You need to be loyal to your shul. That's the way a shul survives. There's a ruach in the shul because of people that are loyal to a shul.
Question. Learning Torah is the single greatest mitzvah, but I'm working and have a family. How can I increase my daily Torah output or input?
Okay, we got the question. There doesn't seem to be time for anything. Between 2 jobs, carpools, orthodontia, homework. Who has time to learn? How do I do it? It's been said, Kavata itim la Torah means to steal time for Torah. And that's what we have to do. We have to steal time for Torah. So let me give you a few pieces of advice. I hope that 1 or 2 people will walk away with some tips. Even if you walk out of here with 1 or 2 tips, it could change your life. What I find, I'm a busy guy. What I find helps by me is to create his chayvus. I couldn't find time to learn Mishnayos. So I started teaching on Kalaloshin Mishnayos. And that forced me to learn 2 Mishnayos a day. Even when I marry off my children. At any time. Even when I'm tonight, I'll go home later on tonight, and I'll do the first 2 Mishnayos in tomorrow, because tomorrow the Mishnayos is starting tomorrow. So no matter what, even if it'll be 1 o'clock in the morning, I'll take out my Tamura, and I'll record 2 Mishnayos in tomorrow, because I have a schayvus. By the way, if you want to learn Tamura with me, 718-906-6471. It's a free service. 2 Mishnayos a day. 718-906-6471. If you want, it's archived all the way back from Brachas. So create a schayvus. Doesn't have to be teaching a shir. It could be a chavrusa. It could be tutoring a boy. Here's a person, he says, I finally want to learn Chamisha Chumshei Torah. So he tutors a boy the Parsha of the week. He created a schayvus. Get a chavrusa. Also, this is what's so vital about joining a shir. Because when you join a shir, that pulls you out of the house. People say, why weren't you there last night? You know, you missed a good Gemara. Right? You join a shir, you're part of a group, part of a chabur. I know we have a Daf Yomi in Staten Island. It's a group. Somebody doesn't come. It doesn't come already 2 days. People call him up. Where are you? You know what you're missing? You know the joke the rabbi said? It's important. So join a group. That's a big thing. Another thing is try to make fixed times. And if you can, fix them next to either davening or eating. Because those are things that you know you're going to do. Either learn a little bit before davening, a little bit after davening. You know you're going to daven. So fix your learning to, by lunch, you know you're going to eat lunch. So fix a little learning, a little Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, a little Parsha, a little Mishnayos. Fix it to when you're eating. If you attach it to when you either daven or you eat, those are things that you're going to do shtendik, so you'll see that you'll have more success to make a kfiyas. Another advice that the Chafetz Chaim gives is to have a designated area in the house where you sit and learn. If you always go to that place, you become accustomed to going to that place. You're less distracted in that place. And it makes it more of a normal habit. Make a place in the house where you usually learn.
Question. Now that I started learning, it's very disheartening and discouraging when I feel that I don't remember the Torah that I learned. What can I do about it?
Somebody comes to the Daf Yomi, he says, I can't believe I learned this once. It looks new to me. And it's a discouraging feeling. Person says, I know I knew it, but I don't know it anymore, so what's the use? So first of all, the Chafetz Chaim says, categorically, that anything that we learn once in this world, we will learn in depth, in completion, in Yeshiva Shomayim. But that which we didn't learn in this world, we won't be admitted to that shar in Yeshiva Shomayim. So therefore, there'll be a place in Yeshiva Shomayim where they're going to enjoy learning Trei Yasser. The person never learned Trei Yasser once in their life, they won't be admitted. Unless there's extenuating circumstances. Here's a person, he says, well, somebody says, oh, you finished Yavamis? He says, I don't know if I finished Yavamis finished me. So that's okay. But you made the effort to learn Yavamis, you're going to have in Yeshiva Shalmayla a Kinyan. That's number one. Number two, it's a good idea if you could teach somebody. Because what we teach people, we remember much better. So after you learn something, if you could go it over with somebody, a weaker person, and teach them, that's a great thing. It's a great thing. Number three, you're not going to know everything. There's 2,711 Blat and Shas. By the way, for those that learned Daf Yomi, 2 weeks ago, we hit 711. So we're past the 711. We're already in the last 2,000 Blat. We're almost there. Almost there. But you have 2,711 Blat. Okay! So you won't know them all. You'll only know 1,500. You're still a great Talmid Chacham. You're not going to know everything.
Question. It seems that the Shidduch experience is revolving more and more around money. Our girls want a learning board, but we don't have that kind of money. What should we do?
Can I skip a question? Okay, I have to tell you the question is better than the answer. It's a very good question. But I have what to say about it. The first thing I want to say is that if you have money, spend it. I know you didn't expect that answer. But there are people that don't want to give money for a boy that's learning because of principle. I don't hold that I should have to support him. Who does he think he is? I don't hold I have to sell my daughter. My daughter, she deserves that I shouldn't have to pay. I work hard for my money. Who knows? If you have the money, what is the chiyah? What is the chiyah? That you're funding that your Eineklach should be born into a home based on Torah? That your wife your daughter should be a wife that will get the great share in Torah and Olam Haba. So therefore, I say publicly that those that have the money shouldn't buck the system, but they should spend it. And I'll add, really ask yourself if you don't have the money. How much of a nest egg do you have to have? Well, I have to know, I want to retire. I want to retire young, and maybe I'll live till 121, and prices are going up. I don't know. I might want to buy a nicer summer home, and a place in Eretz Yisrael, maybe in Boca too. Who does he think he is that I should have to give up on all these dreams? So I'm telling you, those are not cheshbonos. Don't buck the system. And I know people that their daughters are sitting without shidduchim because they don't think it's right. So you have the money, then do it. That's the system now. That's the system. And decide if you really don't have the money. That's number one. But the question is, there are many middle-income families that can't make ends meet even without supporting children. They just can't make ends meet. They're still paying tuitions. They're paying high mortgages. Their jobs are downsizing. They're not making enough money. They certainly can't support, but their daughter wants a learning boy. Not just that the daughter wants a learning boy. That's the good boy that our system is producing. So what's a parent to do? So, if the idea is, in Lakewood, is that the rent needs to be paid. We assume that with Jersey Care and other government programs that they're legally eligible to, they could make everything work except for the rent. So we have to figure out how to pay the rent. So if a girl could go for a superior job and take loans, the family can't support the education, take loans, to be able to offer the boy, look, I could pay the rent, so that's a cheshbon. And that's a cheshbon that's accepted. What about if the girl can't do that either? She's not a good test taker. She's not. So then there's certain other things. If a girl is dating for a while and she's been working, she could use that money as the support for a year or two, which is also an acceptable method. And then, something I feel very strongly about, there are great girls that wealthy families should be looking for. They don't need the support. And that's also an avla gedola that we're finding nowadays, that wealthy families are asking for money. What are they asking for money? Because, look, our boy deserves it. He earned it. He's learning great. He's a great learner. He deserves support. What do you mean deserves support? You don't need support. Take a girl, a wonderful girl, a tchotchke of a girl, who can't support. And this is something that we should demand. And then there are families that realize that they can't support their daughters, and therefore they're not being hypocritical, they're not asking support for their sons. There are families like that, and you have to find them.
After all said and done, the phone is not ringing, and she's looking for our daughter. What should we do?
Rub it in, rub it in, rub it in. Rub it in. It's a big problem. It's one of the great problems of today. So the first thing I can tell you from personal experience, the day of waiting for the phone to ring for your daughter is over. Those days are over. Just like the day of the payphone is over, the icebox under the window is over, milk in glass bottles are over, the phone ringing for your daughter off the hook is over. Those days are over. You have to be very proactive. Very proactive. Which means that you need to speak to a lot of shatchanim. And the girls hate it, but the girls have to go down and meet the shatchanim. The shatchanim have a power, but they don't get the power over the phone. They have to connect with the person. And mommy can't do this. And mommy a lot of times should keep herself out of the equation. This is good enough for my yingala. You know how many people are single today because they waited for something better? And they're single in their 40s because they waited for something better. Maybe there's something better. Maybe there's something better is not a reason to say no to a shidduch. I can tell you that my Rebbetzin went to a shidduch meeting in the country. And she went from one shatchan to the next, to a dozen shatchanim. One of those shatchanim knew a boy in Denver and made a shidduch. We have a son-in-law from Denver. And then that shatchan got to know our family and now made a shidduch. That shatchan we never knew. That shatchan now made a shidduch for another one of our daughters. But it's only because my wife went. People think it's a humiliating experience. No, it's not. It's doing for your child. She went one summer evening, she paid the money, and she went from shatchan to shatchan to shatchan. She had a picture. She didn't give the picture, but she had a picture of her daughter. Her daughter wasn't there then. But you got to be proactive. That's the way it works today. You have boys, and shatchanim are calling every minute about your boys. Say, listen, I'll talk to you when you also give me a shidduch for my daughter. I got to hear from you. I hear a lot of people calling. You want a shidduch for my son? Give me a shidduch for my daughter. We did it. Blackmail. We did it. Don't be ashamed. And you got to keep at it. You know, you can't rest and say, something will come, something will come. And if you realize that you're not an outgoing couple and your child's losing out, you got to enlist help. This is not something that you could sit and be passive about. It's not going to happen. It's like somebody says, I'm sitting at home, the parnasa will come. It's not going to happen. If you have married children, you have to network. Also, another important point. I tell girls, you went out with a boy. It's just not for you. But it was a nice boy. It was a good boy, a menschliche boy, a good boy. Right away, think which one of your friends he's good for. The girls have to be there for each other. You went out with a boy? Look, if he was a louse, so burn the paper. But if he was a good boy, it didn't click. It's not your type. It's not your speed. But he was a good boy. Immediately, which one of my friends is going to be? That's the way it works. That's what we have to do now.
Question. Now that the phones are ringing, even if it's the shotgun's phone, what are the 5 most important qualities that I should look for in a prospective mate?
Boy, we're running out of time, aren't we? And the questions, they're getting, much easier. Okay, I'm going to be short, sweet, and to the point. 5 most important qualities. Kindness. Kind. You're lucky if you're married a kind spouse. So kindness. Simchas achayim. Happiness. You'll have a good marriage if the person you're married to has a happy disposition. Good health, religiosity has to be from a person. Always marry up in religiosity. When you have children, you become more spiritual. So always marry up in religiosity. Compatibility, there has to be some shava b'shava. That's 5, but I'm going to give you 2 more. Flexibility. I have somebody in my shuls married 67 years. He told me the secret of his marriage was flexibility and stability. They're not contradictions. Right. You have to ask the questions quicker.
Question. Now that we know what to look for, how do we check up and find out the potential shidduch for that possesses these qualities?
Okay, how do you check up on a shidduch? So you should ask the references. They give you references. But those references, a lot of times, they're not going to say bad. They're their best friends. They're their relatives. They were paid. So ask the references, who else could I call? Ask the references, who do you recommend I call? Then you'll get to hear the truth. When you ask about temperament. That's very important. Now, I'm going to tell you how to get the truth out of the people that you talk to. Because nobody likes to...
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.